Við fjöllum líka barna hermenn í þættinum en í norðurhluta Úganda hefur 35.000 börnum verið rænt og þau gerðað hermönnum eða kynlífsþrælum. Við ræðum við höfund hinnar sláandi og margverðlaunuðu heimildamyndar Stríðsbörnin, The Children of War, sem fjallar hrikaleg örlög þessara barna og leið þeirra til bata, og við sjáum einnig umfjöllun fréttamanns RÚV sama efni. Í 2 áratugi hefur her skæruliða haldið almenningi í norðurhluta Úganda í heljargreipum, farið þorp og limlest og drepið menn, konur og börn. Svokallaður andspyrnuher drottins undir forystu stríðsglæpamannsins Joseph Kony talinn hafa rænt 35.000 börnum og gert þau að barna hermönnum eða kynlífsþrælum. Hinn sláandi og margverðlaunaða heimildamynd Stríðsbörnin, The Children of War, sem fjallar hrikaleg örlög þessara barna og leið þeirra til bata, verður sýnd hér á landi á morgun, sem líður í bíófundaröð Sameinuðu þjóðanna. Brynja Þorgeirsdóttir ræddi við höfund myndarinnar.
Welcome.
Thank you.
This documentary, Children of War, it follows the story of former child soldiers. They have undergone serious things. Could you tell us just a little bit about what are the stories?
Well, most of them have the same story, which is that they are similar stories, which is they're abducted from their schools or their homes or their villages. Generally, it's in the middle of the night by this rebel army called the Lord's Resistance Army. And in their abduction, they're sort of gone through an initiation. A lot of times they're forced to kill their family members or burn their huts or loot or abduct other children. And then they're tied up and then marched into the bush. And the reason that they're forced to kill right off the bat is that it immediately alienates them from their community. The rebels know that once they've committed that sort of crime that it's going to be very difficult for them to go back. So now this rebel army sort of assumes the position or the role of their new home, their new family. And so it's an initiation through violence, basically. And then ultimately they're given training, military training. The boys are, the girls are made, they're given as wives to the commanders. And then they just go about, looting and undergoing warfare against the government, basically.
What you've done is that you placed yourself in a rehabilitation center where you follow the rehabilitation and healing of these children.
My focus was obviously on the rehabilitation, the healing. I felt like there's enough information in the media about the darker aspects of the war, and I wanted to focus on what it meant to recover from war, what it meant to forgive, to heal.
How does it go? Because there's a very powerful scene in this movie where a former chief priest from this Lord Resistance Army comes into the rehabilitation center to ask the children for forgiveness. Is the forgiveness a big part in the healing process?
It's essential, actually, because first of all, the children have to learn to forgive themselves. That's the most important thing. A lot of them come back with a lot of guilt because of some of the stuff that they were forced to do. And so they come back with guilt and low self-esteem, a lot of fear. So these are the post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of the symptoms that they carry. And so forgiveness is one way that they need to heal. If they don't forgive themselves for what they did, then they're going to have a problem. Secondly, they don't need to, but it's helpful for them to forgive the people who abducted them. A lot of times the people who abducted them were abducted themselves, and then they grew up in the ranks and became commanders, and so they were just as much victims as the children were, just further along in the process. So the children need to sort of become aware, understand that they're not the only victims in this cycle of violence, that even some of the other people were. So a lot of times these commanders come back to the rehabilitation center after they've surrendered or been captured and try to reconcile with these kids in order to help de-indoctrinate them and encourage their process of healing. And so a lot of times it works. The commanders are sincere, they want a new life, they want peace, and it becomes group therapy in that way. So sometimes it doesn't work.
And in that case that we see in the movie?
In the movie, the chief priest comes back and he's very extroverted in asking for forgiveness, but I think your viewers will see in the clip that he's not quite sincere. There's something very arrogant still about him. He's very defensive. And so this creates a dilemma for the children. You know, it becomes a lot more ambiguous, this question of forgiveness. Can you forgive? Can we forgive somebody who is not apologetic?
And he asks for a child that he says was his wife for 5 years.
She's there in the rehabilitation center, yeah, and he tries to, again, sort of arrogantly say that it wasn't his fault, and that he wasn't taking responsibility for his actions. And so it becomes difficult for her, but basically she does confront him, which is empowering for her. I think that step enabled her to really propel forward in her rehabilitation. Of course, rehabilitation is a lifelong process. You know, some of the trauma that these kids have gone through is not going to be, they're not going to heal overnight, but it goes by steps, and so forgiveness is a crucial part of.
Yeah. Now that you've followed them on and off for around 3 years, you said, what do you think their chances are to live a normal, happy life?
I think it's good, but it depends on their social networks once they've gone home. Are their parents supportive? Are their larger families supportive and encouraging, loving? Is the community understanding of the situation that they've been in? So a lot of it has to do with creating reconciliation programs that get all of these feelings and frustrations out into the open, because the community has suffered a lot too. It's not just these kids. This war has devastated this community for over 20 years now. And so there's everybody's experiencing a lot of loss and frustration. So ultimately it comes down to dialogue and creating forums in which people can communicate, the kids primarily. So that's the next step in this. You know, the rehabilitation is the first step. The second step is what do we do for long-term healing? And a lot of it has to do with infrastructure too. I mean, when people are povertized, it creates stresses in the community that can create resentments, and so all of these issues have to be dealt with in a post-war environment.
But are these abductions still going on? This Lord's Resistance Army has moved out of North Uganda, but is still at large, though.
They are. They're moving around in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Southern Sudan, but not so much, but the Central African Republic. So they're very active. Last year they made about 240 different attacks on civilians, abducted a lot of kids, and so they're very active still.
Why is it so difficult to stop?
I think mainly it's political will. International political will is what's needed, because the infrastructure in that part of the world is very poor. There aren't really police forces. There are a lot of different factions of militaries that are fighting each other, particularly in Congo, DR Congo. So it creates for a really unstable environment. And so what's needed is the political will to be able to put resources into the area and infrastructure so that these rebels can be squeezed out, basically. They've tried peace talks, and those failed 3 times now. So peace talks are always an option, but something needs to be done.
What do you hope happens? Because this film has received widespread attention. What would you like to see regarding to the reactions to this film?
Well, I think number one, I think it's important for all of us to bear witness to witness what's going on. That's the most important thing, to open ourselves up to what's going on around the world and be aware. Two, I think if the film in any way can cultivate any sort of compassion with people, that's the most important thing for me, is to cultivate more compassion, because if we have compassion, then we're more compelled to act. So I hope that the film will share these stories of these children in a way that people can identify with. These are not just children thousands of kilometers away. These are children, and they're just like any child anywhere in the world. They deserve and demand the rights of protection and security and potential. So I hope that people can recognize that. And then, you know, in terms of political action, I can't advocate what any individual should do. I'm not a politician. I don't work in policy analysis. But I think it's fairly obvious that there needs to be more political will, international will, to address this problem.
Brian Single, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Sérstök sýning var á stríðsbörnunum á allsherjarþingi Sameinuðu þjóðanna síðastliðið haust og vakti hún þar mikla athygli. Myndin verður sýnd í Bíó Paradís á morgun klukkan 20 að viðstöddum höfundi hennar og fulltrúa frá Barnahjálp Sameinuðu þjóðanna sem munu segja frá reynslu sinni. En Rún Ingvarsdóttir fréttamaður var í Gulu í norður Úganda fyrir nokkru og heimsótti endurhæfingarstöðvar fyrir börn sem neytt hafa verið út í hernað. Hún ræddi þar meðal annars við félagsráðgjafa sem aðstoðar börnin við að vinna úr þeirri erfiðu lífsreynslu sem að þau hafa gengið í gegnum.
Á endurhæfingastöðvunum fá börn og unglingar aðstoð við að vinna úr skelfilegri reynslu sem þau upplifðu hjá skæruliðunum og læra að lifa með gjörðum sínum. Þau fá sálfræði aðstoð og sauma- og smíðakennslu svo þau geti bjargað sér og fengið vinnu.
When the children come here, they experience a lot of problems, like the trauma signs. Things like nightmares, they have withdrawal, isolation. Then some of them like crying. Then flashbacks. Some of them, when they sit alone, you can experience a child shouting that now you see I'm seeing something happening, most of which referring to the things that were happening in captivity. They come when some of them look seriously malnourished, very thin and looking bad. They come back with swollen feet, some of them with a lot of wounds. Then some of them come back when their feet is even, like it has the marks of the gumboots just around the legs. You know where the gumboot ends.
Hér sá elsti og sá yngsti sem njóta aðstoðar. Moses orðinn 20 en hann var 5 ár í haldi skæruliðanna. Hann hefur átt afar erfitt með að lýsa reynslu sinni en hefur tekið ástfóstri við Jimmy litla. Jimmy fannst einn og yfirgefin út í skógi aðeins nokkura mánaða. Móðir hans var hermaður og notuð sem kynlífsþræll hjá skæruliðunum og ól einum af foringjunum barn. Einna árangursríkast hefur verið að láta börnin tjá sig með teikningum.
And when they draw, you find out most of the things are related to life in captivity. Like they draw helicopters, trying to bomb them, soldiers with guns. So drawings play a lot of, give us a lot of information, I could say.
Afar mikilvægt sé að börnin fara ekki beint heim til fjölskyldna sinna eftir að hafa sloppið úr haldi skæruliðanna. Þau hafi verið heila þvegin og séu í miklu ójafnvægi.
They have been brainwashed, they have been given a lot of feelings towards what? Like life at home, that maybe when you come back from captivity you'll be killed, they'll arrest you, something like that. So when they come here, we just try to stabilize their mind. We try to make them recover from the pains, the trauma that they have. So we try to erase that kind of the feelings, the trauma signs, so that when the child is going home is already stable in mind and can really freely interact with other people and live well.